Hey, AfterBuzzers, we are here for another 2 exciting episode recaps of Orange is the New Black, Season 4, Episode 3, Don't Say Anything, and Season 4, Episode 4, Dr. Psycho.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Trap, trap, trap till the cage is full.
They say trap?
The cage is full. There's you. And everyone is waiting, waiting on you. And you've got time.
That is so beautiful.
Okay, I'll stop.
I still can't keep up with you guys, but I try.
All right.
Every week I will
And
try.
everybody
my hardest.
hates it every single week.
No, but how can you
At home.
hate it? It's such a fun challenge.
Well, I hate listening to me scream at the top of my lungs.
I fully enjoyed
Octopus
it.
never did.
I like listening to myself and you, so.
But welcome, everyone. This is Season 4, Episode 3, Don't Say Anything. I am Scott Moore. I will be saying something, and so will all these lovely ladies to my left. Introduce yourselves, please.
Hello, I'm Kanika Lal. Glad to be here, ready to recap another episode. Follow me on Twitter at Kanika Lal.
Hey guys, I'm Sterling Cates, and you can find me on Twitter at Sterling Cates.
Hey, y'all, I'm April Whisenhant. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Yeah, we're so glad
Welcome.
to be part of the team.
Yeah, thanks.
Woo-hoo. And you can find me on Twitter at sman80. That's SMAN80. All right, let's start. First thoughts of this episode. What did you all think? First thoughts.
First thoughts is I don't really care about So-So. And I'm
Yes.
tired of it. Like, I don't really care about her backstory that much just because her personality kind of annoys me in general. But again, and I'll talk about this later when we talk about episode 4, but with So-So's character, it's like her backstory that we got this episode is nothing new. We didn't learn anything new about her personality and why she is the way she is that we didn't know before from when we learned about her backstory before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's other inmates that I care about learning in the first place. I don't need a second run at seeing how bad of a person So-So is.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone on that. I think a lot of people don't really find her to be the most appealing. And her lying in her flashback about how she suffered from that, I guess you can call it, kind of adds to her personality. It makes a lot of sense. But to be honest, I think Tasty made up for all of the
Yes, I
So-So
love Tasty.
plot.
But also off So-So, I only really care about Pusey's future and how
Right.
she is. So if Pusey's happy, I'm happy. So whatever.
That's true.
I just feel like they can't figure out where to go with So-So's character. Like, none of it kind of meshes together in the way that I feel like they want it to. So that I feel like them putting her with Pusey right now is to give her a little more, I don't know, kind of gumption to her story. Because she's just kind of, she's always been like the floater. No one really knows what she's up to or what she's about. And I don't know. I'm just kind of constantly annoyed with her character.
Oh yeah, I think we can all agree on that. Her character is incredibly annoying, and always has been from the beginning. But yes, Tasty in this episode. Oh, we love you. And if
so
somehow you're
good.
watching, please come on and visit us.
Right.
We'd love to have you
Yes.
on. Her just this whole episode with her being being Caputo's assistant is just so great.
Honestly, I would be absolutely fine with the rest of the season.
I
Just
know.
Tasty's job as Caputo's assistant.
I
Like,
know.
I would just love that.
Yes.
Her making the labels with all of her little like nicknames and everything, like Tasty was here.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I just enjoy that so
She got
much.
so assimilated into the position. She started
Into
like
it.
dressing up and calling whoever she wants. Now I think it's a perfect fit for her,
I agree.
especially why Caputo hired her to begin with.
Yeah, no.
Which
it's-
The
was
reason
kind of
for
creepy
that-
when
It
he
was
said
creepy.
that she's only semi-intelligent but semi-attractive to
Attractive.
her.
But we
Yeah.
haven't
Excuse me, what?
we haven't seen creepy Caputo in a long time.
Yes,
we have to
you're
remember that
right.
he is
He was
calm,
creepier
right?
before that.
Yeah, absolutely, and we kind of talked about this last week. Sorry you weren't here, but
Okay.
but we brought that up with some of these characters that we've now watched them kind of mature as this series has matured, and part of it was seeing the good and bad of each character and really
Right.
delving down. And part of it was that Caputo is creepy, and every
Right.
once in a while we see that, and we did see that again on the episode here. So,
But then he
you're
also
kinda-
has those moments where you're like, oh, well, he's kind of a good guy.
right.
Yeah.
But
I
then
think
he's
he's
so
ultimately
creepy.
He's ultimately
Yeah.
a good guy, but he's also. I mean, I guess that's every person, right? No
They
one
have
can be
layers.
perfect.
You're right.
No one's
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And but that's what's so great about this particular show and the writing is the fact that they really do show that with the characters. And the other big thread line here, of course, is we have the whole Lolly
Yeah.
Alex thing,
Wow.
and obviously we still have Judy King and her her situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then of course we have Piper
Right.
with her panty business here and her trying to be like thinking she's all that. So
Yeah.
those are sort of the main storylines.
Right.
And definitely wanted to kind of go into the whole stuff with Judy King. We kind of were dealing with that too after Tasty being the assistant for Caputo. We're dealing with her trying to get into the garden and now sort of the clash that she's having with Red.
Yeah.
I actually, again, there's so many great lines too in the way the show writes. And you hear Judy gets officially introduced to Red. And Red was talking about what she was called as a kid, like I was called Little Sun,
Yeah.
but now I'm bigger and hotter now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
So good.
fantastic.
It was.
Yeah. 'Cause she
I
was
love
like,
the
"Oh, that's
rivalry
my
between
nickname."
them.
Yeah, I do too. It's great. There was so much to Judy King that I just feel like is just coming to the surface. Knowing that she's got this other side to her that we've kind of talked about with other characters in the past. But what do you all think? I mean, I don't even think that she's really legit as a entrepreneur as far as cooking and all that. Do you think that that's something we're going to find out? Or
I think so. She wasn't even interested when Healy offered her that
Yeah, I
position
know,
of
and we're-
doing a cooking class. Like, that would be something anyone would love. She got a huge class in front of her. I think that was in the episode to follow, but jump ahead a little bit.
But we talk about
But-
both of them now, so nobody can be
Sorry,
angry if
yeah,
we somehow
yeah.
go to both. And
You
at this
know we've
point,
seen both.
yes,
Sometimes they blur together.
yes,
Yeah.
they do.
But I think we're going to find out, a lot more. We said this last episode, too, or last week, that we're going to find a lot more layers underneath her that she definitely puts on a front.
Yeah, I like seeing that we think that she's this Miss Southern Belle that has. Why is she in prison in the first place?
Right.
But then she kind of punches those one-liners that whether it's whatever it was with Red, or we see it later in episode 4 too, when she kind of just like shows her little sass and that she's standing her ground.
Yeah.
And we saw it last week too when she was talking to Yogi Jones or whatever. So you can see that there's is that bad side to her. So I'm really looking forward to her background and where that
I
comes from.
would love
And we
to hear
also
that.
see it when she's talking to Luschek and she has this really kinky background, and that's
Right.
probably next episode as well. But
Yeah.
you can still kind of see those different sides of her. She's not this goody
No,
goody
not at
goody.
all. And I think that's going to be the fascinating thing to see, because I know a lot of people out there have probably already seen the whole entire
Yeah.
episodes and
I'm
the dark side.
Dodging spoilers
Yes,
left and
me
right
too.
on
too,
Twitter.
and it's so
gosh,
difficult.
It is.
But the other thing about, and she's fascinating to me because she's got that cross between a Paula Deen / Martha Stewart kind of thing, where you're kind of getting the worst parts of both of those
Totally.
women. And it's just, I find her character so much fun though,
Yeah.
because you can really play with that, and
That's
it's
true.
great to see her, like you said, with Red and with Lucia and with everybody there, and how she's interacting with everybody. It's a lot of fun.
Every time someone walks around in that garden, though, were y'all not freaking out? I'm like, there's a body right below you. How is no one discovering
Right.
this yet?
And she was
Right.
casually in the garden, kind of shopping, and Healy was just
Yeah.
supervising her.
Yeah.
Oh, look
Right.
at this plan here. I'm like, are you
Well, I
serious?
mean, that's the whole thing with Lolly, which
Yeah.
kind of she represents to me that side that we're all kind of feeling like, oh my god, there's the
Yeah.
body there,
Yeah.
how is
Paranoia.
but kind of playing on that really heavy paranoia side, but what we're all thinking.
Yeah.
It's oh my god, how can they just go about their day and there's this body right under the ground, and we know it like Lolly knows.
yeah.
And I was also wondering, has anyone not noticed that Aiden's gone? If they
Exactly.
hired this
That's a
guard,
good
they hired this
point.
guard, and they have him on the clock, and then he's just not there anymore.
Well, and that was sort of what we were talking about last week too, is how long is it going to take for now, I was going to say, now you know the drug lord, the main guy's name,
Kubra.
Kubra.
Yes.
Yeah. Good one.
How
Good job.
long is it going to take for him to not?
I know.
Because we were talking about that last week. Is there's only a certain amount of time where he's not going to want to be calling him or
Right.
checking in. So some of those stuff that always drives me crazy too, because it's too long of
It's
a period.
gonna come back. It's got
It has
Right,
to.
they're going to find out, but also he's going to find out too.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he's-
But noticing
which
a missing
is more dangerous, honestly.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Noticing a missing guard is huge, though. Now that you bring that up, I don't think it's a loophole. It could be a loophole in the plot, or they're so busy and so overcrowded and so much is happening, they just
Right.
forgot about
But
it.
they're
and
also
got lucky.
so understaffed.
Yeah.
So when they notice
Yeah.
if
When
one
they
guard
notice.
was missing.
Well, I mean, that's a good point that you brought up, because I kept thinking about Cooper trying to figure it out. But you're right. I mean, why would they not at this point be wondering where he is? And part of the only problem that I have with the show now is that you have so many characters that you don't have enough time to really deal with everything.
Follow
Yeah.
each
And
one.
so there's so many
yeah.
things that are kind of off on the side there.
Right.
And like this character, I mean, yes, he's central, and obviously his body's right there, and it's central to Lolly.
And a few pieces.
And yes, and all of that craziness, but then why has anyone been dealing with, like, where is he?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody seems to care as far as on the prison side, and nobody's caring on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Or is this part of a plot device that we find out down the road a couple episodes?
I'm sure that's it.
Yeah, which I'm sure,
Yeah.
we'll hear the comments from people. Again, don't give anything away
Yeah.
in your comments, because we are really only there at the end of season 4. So we are watching this all for the first time, and we have no idea what's happening down the line. But that is a very good point that you bring up. So yeah, we're dealing with that. We're dealing with, obviously we get a lot of So-So as well, and we were talking about that a few minutes ago about the relationship with Pusey, and I do agree with you. I think part of that is to give her something to do,
Yeah.
because otherwise we have no reason to have her around, at least at this point. And it's nice to, again, like you were saying, Sterling, to have Pusey be in a relationship, but we see it kind of fall through here. We see the backstory, which didn't give us that much more. I mean, it
Right.
really didn't. I think what you were saying, it does kind of give a little bit of credence to why she acts the way she does. It's sort of the wants to do the right thing, but then
But being so
It's
ignorant
adjusting-
about...
yeah,
Adjusting herself to people. I feel like she's even having a hard time fitting in the prison. I mean, here she is with a whole new group who they don't really find her to be included.
yeah.
They just kind of like consider her, the Oriental girl. You know, she's
Yeah.
even having a hard time. So I think she just needs to feel fit in somewhere.
Right.
With her flashback, she wanted to impress that boy. Now she
Right.
wants to impress friends, Pusey.
Exactly.
So.
It's like she does whatever she can.
a little bit of insecurity, yeah.
Oh, a total
Well, I mean,
insecurity.
everyone's
Absolutely.
insecure, but-
Yes, but you're right. Like that insecurity and feeling like she sort of wants to do the right thing, but then it doesn't come out the right way. And because she's so insecure, she wants to, even if it involves lying and
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
her point across.
And not only that, but she also just like lives in her completely own world. Like she has
Yeah.
these assumptions about things. She makes assumptions about people. She just assumes, they grew up this way or they're this way
Right.
because of this way. And the one thing I did like about her backstory with this episode, it contributed to what was going on in the prison when she was talking
Right.
to Judy. And it was like she made this assumption about that sex offender and like did all this stuff and then said what she wanted to about the sex offender to get her own way. And that's what she did with Pusey's storyline to Judy. She made up this
Right.
story in order to get what she wanted from
Right.
it. Or she just genuinely assumed that is where Pusey came from. So it's like
And all her references, she goes the 1% versus the other
Other
1%.
1%.
such a good hashtag.
Right?
Yeah.
I did like that line of hers. I thought it was funny.
Yeah. but
Yeah, it was pretty relevant, I think.
Yeah.
It was, and again, the show does a good job bringing up really relevant, hot button topics that are going on now.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, it was sort of this whole thing about her making the assumption that that's where her background came from. But again, it was like she wanted to do something good because she thought, oh, this is the way to connect, with Judy and get Pusey to be able to meet with her and have that lunch and everything. But she went about it the wrong way by
Yeah.
going for that bottom barrel stereotypical.
Yeah.
Without actually not even really knowing where her background was.
Right. And that just goes back to what you were saying. Why is she, she just wants to fit in with this group, with Pusey's group
Right.
and this whole thing. And she's getting really close with Pusey, but she knows nothing
Nothing
about her.
about
It's like
her.
she's talking about herself all the time.
Right.
She's not
Right.
asking questions about
Right.
this person she wants to be in a relationship
Exactly.
with. So really, she's not in it because she cares about Pusey. She's in it because it's somewhere she
Something-
fits in.
Right, something for her.
She's getting attention from it.
Exactly.
And it's like, then I love Pusey so much. I'm like, why is she taking advantage of her?
Well, she's been so alone the entire time, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so I'm not surprised that she is like grasping at the attention that she's getting, because even Pusey has been alone for so long and has wanted someone. So it's like they're both getting something out of it. I just think that like So-So's feelings aren't as real. I mean, even like the moment with the boombox and everything, that was really sweet, but that's just because she doesn't want to be alone in prison. Like she wants someone to like be able to really be her friend, because she hasn't
Yeah.
had any friends.
Well,
I guess I
yeah.
never thought about her not actually having real feelings for Pusey. I thought she actually did care for her, but now I'm thinking about what you guys are saying. If someone else came along and gave her the attention, she might just drop Pusey in an instant and go for
Right.
that other girl. So
Well, and sort of what she was saying, it's all about being in the moment of being politically correct and this and
Right.
that. Like, like, you know, with the whole stuff that she was doing with the corporate greed, and then it's, oh, I don't want to have love, you know, genders. I love people, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, and there are people out there that really don't fit into any particular gender and everything. But from her perspective, it comes across as she's just trying to fit in the PC world and try to fit in whatever way she can, and it didn't come across as genuine. And you're absolutely right. And the whole fact that it's all about her and her way of being able to fit in, and she'll do whatever it takes to do that. Like we saw the with the backstory and the sex offender, which I thought was a great scene. First of all, I love how they did the stereotypical mustache.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was even watching, like, I wrote down stereotypical mustache, but it also brought up a really good point about the whole thing about how they were just having consensual sex out in public, and now all of a sudden he has to be labeled as a sex offender. It kind of reminds me of a law that we had back in Florida, where if you, I mean, I know it's kind of gross, but if you went to the bathroom as a guy in public and somehow someone caught you, it would be the same thing. You'd be labeled a sex
it's
offender.
same in Alabama
Same in
too.
North
Right,
Carolina. I
so
think
yeah,
it's
it's a southern thing. But
I was like, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
but I used to think about that, because sometimes you're like, oh, when you're a kid and you're like, I'm going out after a night of drinking at the bar, and you don't want to wait for the bathroom, you go outside out the back, and you're thinking, if you got caught for something like that is not even sexual, and somehow you're going to be labeled as a sex offender. It brought, again, the stuff that's on the books right now with laws and how it's really doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And now this guy's life is essentially ruined because now he's labeled as that, and it's not right. So I love when the show brings up very relevant issues like that, because you were starting to watch it, and I was thinking when I was watching, I'm like, oh no, he probably didn't do anything that crazy. I don't know what you all thought when you watched that scene too.
I loved the line that he said when he finally signed it, and he said, it's not like Walmart's going to lose anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that just goes back to that whole corporate greed.
Exactly.
And,
Very true.
and so it's like she's basically just parroting everything she's read and everything that she's heard is supposed to be PC, but she doesn't like actually know what she's talking about, which is why she comes off so ignorant a lot.
As
Yeah.
ignorant and naive
exactly.
and fake and out for her own PC, like her own, to kind of fit in some way, which in this case was that group. And
I mean, at the end of the day, all she wanted was just to win a bet.
Yeah.
And get a date,
Yeah.
get a date with
And get a
Oren.
date, yeah. She clearly didn't care.
yeah, no, she didn't.
I was a little creeped out though at first. I thought he was going to do something. I wasn't sure. I was nervous because you
Yeah.
Well,
can
like,
get
who
into those
invites you
situations.
in?
Who goes in?
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
one who's signing
Well-
a petition goes in the house
Well,
ever,
and that-
even
that-
if they're a sex offender or not.
Right, and that goes back to what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
very naive, and she's just thinking, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to win this bet, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I did love that line about Walmart, and it's not even that. It's just that it is hard when you're up against not even something with so much money, but also it always looks so good on the political side for these cities and towns anyway. It's like, oh, you're creating jobs, you're adding this great place where everyone can go shop, especially in small towns. I mean, we have that here in outside in Burbank right now. They're building this huge new Walmart, and they're
They are?
yes,
Oh, I did not know that.
huge
Me
Walmart.
neither.
And IKEA's moving and building like the biggest IKEA in the United States. They're closing the one in downtown Burbank and building a new one. So again, this is relevant stuff that's happening now, and it's really hard to say no to those companies when they're bringing lots of jobs and they're bringing some like a community point where people can go shopping.
Well, it's all about that's Bernie Sanders' fight right now. So, but
Yeah,
just-
so-
just
Does he have
saying.
any fight left in him?
No, unfortunately, but that's his biggest argument.
That's a
Yeah.
story for another day. But
Yes.
yeah, it's
Maybe another after show.
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Into political culture on BHL tomorrow.
I was just
Right,
gonna
see,
say
there you go.
that. Yeah,
There we go.
great tease.
See, we did that on purpose, people. That's how good we are at the tease. But yeah, we the other thing that I was, as we're kind of segueing back, we have Caputo again, the whole assistant thing, but also the whole Linda stuff with
Yes.
which she was just creepy from the last, I think it was episode 2.
Oh, you don't like Linda?
No.
Linda for purchasing?
You like
No.
Linda?
I like Linda.
I
Oh,
do
tell us
not
why.
like her.
Yeah, I like
Do
Linda.
tell.
I like Linda only because I feel like he deserves someone at this point. Like, we've only seen him kind of go through bad stuff,
Yes.
all the stuff with the warden and whatever.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like it takes like a kind of a weird person to like him because he's a little off. So I don't know. I was happy that he like had some sort of a connection with somebody.
Yeah, I was happy for the connection.
I mean, the stuff
But-
that they were like suggesting was
Yeah.
weird, like about the veterans and
Exactly.
whatever.
Like
Right.
she's
It's a bit much, obviously.
yeah, and of course it's over the top, but again, stuff that's really happening in this corporate world of like, how can we save money? And oh, this is a great idea. So
Yeah.
she's sort of that corporate shrill like
Right.
person. And I don't think she's necessarily a bad person. Maybe she is, and we'll find out later this season. But I just think she's just trying to sort of like Soso. She reminds me a lot of Soso in that way that she wants to kind of fit in, and be the corporate person and do what we should do and play that whole game, and she's just in the middle of that. But I'm like, ugh, of all the people.
Yeah. On a personal level, like, yes, I'm happy Caputo has found someone who wants to go on a date with him. I couldn't be more happy for him. But when it kind of leaks into his professional life, it makes me nervous that she is so MCC all the way, corporate all the way, because then what does that mean for the inmates, and what does that mean for what's actually going on at the prison?
And the whole relationship with them too,
She never mix business with pleasure.
No,
You should never do it.
I think it's just gonna end up bringing out the bad side to him, though. Like, I know this is in episode 4, but even when she's like, why do you feel bad for them? Da da da. He's always had. I feel like that's why his character is relatable, because even though he, does some messed up stuff sometimes, he's like, you can tell he has a heart, and he actually cares for the people who work there and for the prisoners sometimes. So I think she's just gonna kind of wipe that away.
Or she might bring out a more of aggressive side to him that maybe he needs.
True.
Because we see in the next episode, which we'll talk about with him and the former guard Donaldson.
I don't think that was a bad.
That was this episode.
Oh, it was?
Which I was going to say. Speaking of that.
That was episode 3?
Yeah.
No. You're right.
Yes. No, it was. So, and I was kind of leading into that because that was part of the dinner.
Then.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great segue.
Yeah. No, it was. And
I forgot I was just talking about.
And seeing his old employee there, and it was kind of sad. It was sad to see kind of where Donaldson had fallen to be not even a
But
waiter.
they made good points, though. Like, when Linda was telling him, like, why, he didn't screw them over, but he did get the job, and then they couldn't do the benefits, whatever.
Yeah.
But, they did ultimately leave him in one of the toughest times. So that is one of the ways where I was like, oh, she did, she's making him stand up for himself.
Yeah.
But I could, see her just maybe, going farther and farther.
Right.
And also playing an advocate for her. She was kind of encouraging his caring behavior, because she was like, oh, that's so cute that even though they treated you like poop, you still care about them, and you're gonna leave, that's sweet, blah blah. So obviously he kind of felt good that he was like, oh yeah, well, in that case I'm gonna leave him an extra tip, you know what I mean, to kind of rub that in a little more,
which of course didn't go well.
And I was I was on the side of the guards this whole time, with them again being treated like poop, and that made sense. So I would probably leave that situation as well.
Absolutely.
But when Caputo said, when shit hit the fan and you turned it up or whatever, that line
just kept oscillating.
Oscillate.
Yeah, makes me think of that with my fan in my office. It's like oscillate.
That was a good line too.
That was a great line.
But when he said it that way, it kind of made me realize, wow, he really was left with no one, and all of these inmates running free.
Right.
So I mean,
it's sort of
you can see both sides.
The two sides of it. Like we always say, there's two sides and there's the truth.
Yeah.
It's always that the truth is sort of in the middle, because you're having two different perspectives of what happened. There's always going to be very differences there, and then you're gonna have that truth in the middle.
That's true.
But it was still sad to see that, because regardless, to see someone kind of fall that far back, especially at that point, it's kind of like.
But is it that far back? I don't think they were having the greatest time at Litchfield.
Yeah,
no, but I'm saying
better
as
than
far. Yeah, I'm just saying as far as maybe salary and
because now he has to work 3 jobs.
And, yeah, exactly. Like he was saying, working 3 jobs, and if you're working as a busboy, you're not making necessarily the money you're making as a prison guard. So that's what I'm saying.
You still have authority as a guard. You still have that sense of whatever.
Authority.
He was one of the good ones too.
He was.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of learning a little bit more about Vinny and
Oh my God! All I have to say is, shooting that scene must have been. I don't know how that was in the visitation room.
I mean, that
was some good acting.
That was
what
so
was
great.
that
hats
line
off
that
to
she
them.
said her little manicotti for her little lasagna? That was so good.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I loved that.
I mean, that scene was so funny.
It was brilliant,
But
actually.
we were talking last week about there's got to be something wrong with this dude, because he wouldn't marry someone in prison that he never met before, outside of prison.
Exactly.
And now we kind of know, right?
And now
a little bit more insight.
I don't
does that
know.
explain it?
It doesn't. It didn't explain to me.
And lives in the same room as
because that's like
kid
any
brother.
other kid. That's nothing.
But that's
so,
why I feel like.
Well, kind of. He is.
Well, young. I'm saying because I'm old now, but I'm saying any other young adult or whatever.
I mean,
I'm like, what was
save
different about
I
it?
mean, it's a sense
Yeah.
of sheltering. So I feel like when he meets a woman who makes him feel more like a man,
Right,
he'd take
but-
that opportunity right
Totally.
away. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's why
I
I'm
don't
saying
know.
like he was more vulnerable to Lorna.
There's got to be something else there though. That didn't leave me feeling satisfied as far as like why he would have done that.
Well, that was
I
the
don't
first
know.
lie we find out that he tells her. So there probably
yeah,
are more
true.
lies.
Yeah.
But I like them together.
No, but it.
I
like
find
them
it
'cause she's
interesting.
happy.
They're
I
just
really
like, who else
do.
would do that?
too.
Who else would like have what's it called? Like telepathic sex?
Fun
But like you're still
Phone
talking.
but when
sex,
you're like
but
No,
when
but
you're
when they were
both
like
together.
together.
When you're
Yeah,
together,
I guess
I know.
telepathic.
I know. I was like, what is
What
that?
would you call that?
What
like-
would you call that?
I
Because
don't know, just
no, because I read
Verbal
it.
sex, just verbal
yeah,
sex.
like,
Verbal-
I was
but
gonna say like
what is the
language of
term for
love.
that?
Who's done that?
Love
Whoever's
language.
done that out
Yes,
there, don't
please.
be ashamed.
No,
Just
tell
let us know
us.
what it's called.
Because
okay?
I actually wrote it down
You
as
can
phone
sign
sex
yourself
in
anonymously.
quotes, and I was like, what do you call that? Because I don't know anyone that's ever actually
Scott
done
knows
that.
That's their cool little Italian love language.
Yeah.
I've just never known anyone to do that before, so I was.
I
kinda-
know.
And
was
no one
fascinated, and
stopped
nobody-
them.
No, which I was expecting someone to do that.
They're just like, let them go.
Right, but I wanted more. I wanted
Gotta
more
do what
from
you gotta do,
from
you know?
his. Well,
I'm
because
shaking my head.
but I was gonna say from what I saw though in that scene where he was at home in his at his family bedroom,
yeah.
he had his wedding ring on. But then I'm like, obviously I'm guessing his parents don't know that he's married.
Right.
So I was trying to figure that out too. So
That's a
I'm
good
trying.
Do they know?
Well, that's where I was thinking.
We don't know.
We don't
We
know.
don't know.
But you saw his wedding ring on,
Yeah.
so it made me think about that. I'm like,
That's a good point.
And then I obviously felt like his parent, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
because then at first I was like, oh, does he have a whole secret family with a wife and
I know.
Yeah.
kids?
That's
like,
what
what
I
is
thought
it?
at first. That's
Yeah.
what I thought at first.
But
Because the woman was knocking on the door. and I was like,
yes,
who is that?
obviously. So I want to know what it is. There's definitely something else there because I was not left feeling like that's it because that's
Right.
too. That's
I feel
too
like
ma-
they don't know.
No, because there's too many people that have that situation. Like you live, especially this generation where people can't afford to move out and
Yeah.
they live with their
Yeah.
family or whatever. So that to me wasn't interesting enough. There's got to be something
something
else.
else.
There.
I mean,
something.
People do just do
dark.
that though. Like in real life, they have like prison pen pals that they
Right.
fall in love with these people who they've never met
Right,
before.
of course.
I mean, I would guess that they have to be off in some
But-
way, but
It's like their version of a long distance relationship.
right.
Right,
in a way.
but he's
Well,
a young
twisted.
guy. He's got like, but there was no. You know what I'm saying? There's
It
something
seems
else
like there
there.
has to be
Yes.
something
Yeah.
Because that's
off
too
about.
normal of a situation.
And
to
plus, it's
just-
TV. We got to keep us like
Right, you
on.
gotta, you gotta have those dark,
Spicy.
over the top characters. So, anyways, I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah.
I mean, that was. I'm like, hey, Emmy winning right there.
I
No.
love that scene. Honestly,
I was laughing
that was
so hard.
Yeah, me too. Well done.
And before we get too much further, because I know we have to jump into episode 4 because we're running behind. But I love the whole scene with the eye drops.
Yes.
Oh
with-
yeah.
with
Doing
Red.
a lot with the little
Yes,
or whatever.
That was great too.
So
Getting back
good.
at Judy, which was great.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and that's the whole thing with Red is that she always finds a way to kind of get in there and be vindictive.
And I love that side of her personality because we've seen a lot of her helping people
Right.
and all that stuff, which I love too. But
Yeah.
again, with the two sides of every
Yeah,
character,
yeah, she's
I love
definitely got that.
you definitely don't want to cross her, even though
I
she
know, you
is a
don't.
good person to go to for help. She will
But you're
certainly
also someone
cross
you don't want. Yeah, you don't want
Totally.
Be
someone.
loyal
you
to
don't
her,
want. You don't want
otherwise-
her to be on your bad side.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'd want to be best friends with her.
Me
and
too.
Yeah,
Frida.
because I'd want her on my side because
And
I
Frida.
wouldn't want
I
to.
wouldn't want to cross
Frida too. My
either.
God. Oh
Yeah,
my
what was
God.
that drone at the end? I mean, why is there a drone there? Did we find out?
No,
'Cause
we
I missed
still
that.
don't know.
Okay, we
still
still don't know, right?
But then it's.
It is weird.
Well, yeah, we'll get into to episode 4, but we'll talk about that too. But I also don't want to miss Piper because of course she was the whole reason at the beginning of the show, at the beginning of the series. This was sort of her show.
Right.
Yeah.
And now
her
she has this-
empire's failing.
And we're starting to see, we're seeing the cracks in the empire here, and she's still trying to act like she's the gangsta with an A, and she's all Miss Tough.
Thug life.
And she's realizing that Maria's not going to put up with it anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And that goes into episode
Yeah,
4.
I mean, she
Yeah.
even lost her people too,
Yeah.
her teammates. So
Yeah, she's got some
she's
competition.
getting yeah.
I think it's good. I don't know what you think.
I think it's good only because I feel like her and Alex are getting closer, and I'm a huge supporter of them. They need each other right now.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
all-
God, I'm
but-
so tired of their back and forth though. It's
Yeah.
It's kind of cute though.
I know, but it's driving me crazy. This is like.
I mean,
this
it's
is
the
gonna
whole
happen.
series.
Yeah.
It's gonna
like
be the
back and
whole
forth, back
exactly.
and
I know, and I
That's-
hate that, but that's.
I know it's like
Same.
in every series, every
Yeah, I know.
show.
It's like, oh, how they're gonna end up.
It's like the Ross and Rachel, but
yeah,
prison
it's just,
style.
That's true. That's good.
Yeah, but I love to kind of see that too because I also feel like she needs to be kind of brought back down a little bit.
That's
because
true.
she's
Yeah.
getting a lot of control, and I know part of it is sort of her trying to be like she's the big baddie, but part of it is her also starting to believe that she is owed this as well, being the big baddie kind of thing.
Right.
So I think it's good for her to
Get some competition.
yeah. And then, of course, going back to Lolly with, like you're saying with the drone, and she's just going ape crazy.
Ape crazy.
The last line was so great with Frida.
All right.
I just love the way you end it. It's like,
Matter of factly.
yeah.
We'll just have to kill
We
her.
just have to kill her.
Yeah. Gotta do it.
Frida will kill her, too.
Frida would.
Man,
She would
there's
not
plenty-
hesitate.
Plenty of
Yeah.
room in the garden.
Yeah. We're just gonna have to kill her. And with
Don't they
that,
have to till the garden, though? I just don't understand.
well, she even says that in the last episode 2. She's talking about, it's all tilled and moved, and
But
it's-
eventually they have to dig those tomatoes up.
Because
Right.
didn't they wrap the body in like cloth or like some sort of material? Like, does that just like
Yeah,
go
they've got-
into the earth?
yeah,
Because I
Yeah,
would feel like the
that's-
body would decompose, but the
that's
cloth
weird.
and stuff, like,
yeah,
wouldn't
you just
that
be
be
hanging
there?
out, you just dig a little bit, especially like she said, like 1 foot deep with 6 different pieces. Like that's not very deep.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
when they put well, I mean, obviously we know something. We know
Something's
that
gonna happen.
that's
Yeah.
going to be revealed. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of time.
Right.
But that was a good ending
Yeah.
to segue into episode 4, Dr. Psycho. What were your overall thoughts of this particular episode?
Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia.
So happy.
And Nikki.
And Nikki, yeah.
I
We
love
saw like
that.
a brief
so
glimpse.
I loved it
We
though.
talked
It
about
made
that at
me
the end of
happy seeing
season
her.
episode 1 last
Yeah.
week. We're like, when are we going to
Yeah.
see Nikki? We have all these people, and we were kind of talking about how we've never really seen Shu before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we've
But
seen
also-
glimpses earlier in previous seasons, but never really seen it.
And we talked about Caputo and Sophia too, like their relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we never really saw when Nikki left, when she was sent to max
Yes.
security. We didn't
Yeah.
know where she went
Right.
exactly.
We
Like
don't
if
know.
she went to Shu or
That's
if she went
true.
to.
Yeah.
Because there is a max security prison.
There
That's
is.
not
Down-
Shu.
down-
Shu
yeah.
is like the punishment place.
Right.
That's
for,
where she's been. She's been in prison. Or max prison.
Max.
She's been in max security, so like
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
Sophia, we'll talk about later, but
Yeah.
like why, so is Shu and max security the
Like
same
near
thing,
each other or the
are
same
they
thing?
in the
Same
same building,
complex?
or is
Oh, I
Shu
think I
in max
know.
security?
Yeah.
Or
I think it's because she set it on fire, so they had to
Everyone-
make them go somewhere else.
Everyone had to kind of evacuate
Yeah.
in that scene.
Like she's still been at Litchfield, but like the Shu is there, and then Max is like down the street a
Okay.
bit. So I
But-
think
yeah.
they just
okay, so maybe
transferred
like
them to
Shu
Max.
is like
Yeah, got together in one
bottom.
area.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I was curious about that.
Yeah,
'Cause we
no,
never
it's-
really knew where she went. She just got in
No,
that
we
van.
just
and
saw
we
that
never really
glimpse.
saw her. Yeah.
And I'm still curious. I still like, are we gonna see her again this season?
Yeah.
What's gonna happen with her? I mean, we talked about that. I want to see more about her. But this was an action-packed episode too, because we're
Yeah.
dealing with Sophia.
Yeah.
We also have Healy's backstory. We're still dealing with Piper. We learn about Daya's mom, Alita, getting out of prison. We see Tasty continuing to work in the office.
Working
just
on
running
the
down,
library.
yeah. And we see Healy trying to get Judy King with her cooking class, and so there's a lot there, and we learn a little bit more of the relationship with Poussey and So, and
And
so there's
Doggett and Coates.
and Coates.
Yeah.
We've got that in here. I mean, we just got a lot that happened. I mean, this
Oh
episode,
dear.
Pretty packed.
and then of course Lolly
Oh,
at
gosh.
the end.
Wow, so much
my
to
gosh.
cover.
So much that happened.
All right.
So to start with, like
Ready.
you were saying with Sophia, we finally get to see her, in more of a normal environment. She doesn't get to have her fancy wig on and looking all beautiful and everything. She's just there in this horrible environment. I mean, we've talked about this, and this is something that's been ongoing too. That's actually here, in California, we have big issues with solitary confinement, and is it something that should be gotten rid of? Is it unconstitutional? Because you see just how awful it is for people to be in these type of situations, and that's where we kind of see that side too with Caputo, where I'm not quite sure his angle, because obviously last episode when Crystal came up and said, I want to talk to you, and we need to get her out, and then he's basically telling Sophia that no, your wife agrees with me, you need to stay in here and everything.
He's lying.
What
Yeah.
is
I
your
don't
what do you think his
understand, though.
what do you think his motivation is to keep her in there?
Well, so
They don't have room for her up in the other places.
Right.
What I'm thinking.
Well, but at the end of last season, I won't be able to remember his name for the life of me, but the guy who's like the MCC guy, the
I was just
head
thinking
guy
that.
or whatever. Remember, he met with him because he
Right.
was fighting for Sophia to get out, and he was like, "This isn't right.
Right.
We're gonna have a big political issue on our hands." And so it doesn't make sense that now he's just like, "Oh, okay," because it seems like nothing happened for him to be fighting the other way, other
Right.
than the MCC guy saying, "No, we need to wait." Blah, 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 blah. But it seems like at this point he could have, especially with, oh my gosh, let me look up her name right now. With the other prisoner fighting saying like, okay, this isn't right.
Gloria.
Gloria, yeah, she should be out. It just seems like he could have done something at this point. So I don't understand why he's kind of like changed his attitude on it.
And especially if he's starting to feel that tension from Crystal,
Right.
it's kind of like, okay, let's nip this problem in the bud and bring her back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He could have done that.
He could have, absolutely. I mean, I'm curious what everyone out there thinks
Yeah.
too. Like, comment, let us know,
Yeah, I'm
because
stumped.
what is his motivation to keep Sophia in Shu? Like, why at this point? Yes, we know they're overcrowded. We get all that, but why is she being set aside in that sense? Because it's not obviously healthy for her psychologically.
Right.
I was still wondering, is she getting her medication? Is she getting her estrogen? Is she getting the treatment that she should be having?
Right.
And you do wonder about that when they're put in Shu and what's happening, because it's really kind of a scary situation. So I'd be curious to know what everyone out there thinks about
I
that.
wondered if, by her rebelling and flooding her cell, if him not letting her up is that kind of his like power move, like, oh well, you throwing a temper tantrum's not gonna make me want to do it, you know what I mean?
Well, he can't
I'm
necessarily
confused by like reward that behavior.
right. He can't really
Right.
reward her doing that, but also I don't know.
Right,
She
but
has
what
to get
is the
his attention.
reason for him keeping her there all this
Right,
time?
yeah.
Because
We
that's
know
what it
he
comes back
cares
to.
for her, because after
Yeah.
he was talking to her, he told the guard, just get her a new, shirt, get her cell in a different cell. Like, he's not like completely disregarding her. I thought it was just because his boss told him. A little accident here. His boss told him that you should keep her aside, and he's waiting for things to calm down. That's what my whole intention
Right.
was.
But
I don't-
waiting for what to calm
I
down all the
know,
new
exactly.
inmates? Like that's what I'm confused about.
Yeah.
I think that is why, because they haven't given us another reason to think
Right.
anything else. But it just seems like it's just been so long at this
It
point.
has
But maybe
been
it
too long.
hasn't necessarily been in the span of the show, because that was end of last season.
And they picked back
Right,
back
they
up.
pick right back up.
The
So
timing
for
is a
us,
little-
the timing is hard to figure the real world kind of timing and how much
Yeah.
time has actually elapsed. But regardless, she's been down there, and he's not bringing her back at this point. And what is the reason behind that? So, and obviously we start with Frida still wanting to kill Wally. And then we've got the whole stuff with Loose Check and Judy King have their little hangout time and the flip the coffee creamers instead of
Yeah.
cup with beer. I thought that was kind of funny.
Except Healy just randomly walked up to them, thinking like, okay, if you want to be included, just talk, say something.
I don't think he wants to
Sorry.
be included. He just wants Judy to himself, is what
Right.
it seems like to me.
Yeah, it kind of goes
I
back.
don't think he wants to socialize
Yeah.
with Loose Check at all.
That's true.
Right. No.
That's true.
It goes back to a lot of, but it also goes back to all these characters with their insecurities.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's another character that has really deep insecurities.
Female
and-
relationships are not his thing.
Yeah, and he's just so awkward and the whole thing, like, careful with all the creamer, it's like mucus, it's like,
Yeah,
Don't say
kind of
that.
thing, yeah.
Please don't say that.
I know, it was like, ugh, but, and that's where we hear the title of the episode when he walks away and behind his back, Loose Check says, oh yeah, he's like Dr. Psycho with all the crazy stuff. So we delve a little bit more into his backstory. Did you feel like that was something that we kind of needed from the previous backstories in previous seasons, or was it like so-sos and you weren't really feeling like we got anything else out of it?
I feel like it's something that could be implied from what we learned previously about him.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of like I care more about other characters to get
Yeah.
a double pass at their background. But I mean, maybe the characters would care about more in future episodes. But we did get to see more. He's always trying to help women or like have relationships with women, but he never really knows how to go about it. Whether it was that homeless lady he thought was his mom or that his patient that he went on a date with.
Yeah.
And she obviously felt uncomfortable, but he's always forcing it. When
Yeah.
they express that they're uncomfortable, he forces it.
Yeah.
Even more, and we see that with every single relationship.
And we knew that his whole thing with his mom from is that obviously that's sort of the root of a lot of his issues are the abandonment issues with his mom and her mental stuff that she had to deal with, which again is a very big important thing that's happening out there now about making sure we treat people for mental illness and take that seriously, and how it's very difficult. It's not like a physical illness that you can easily diagnose, and it's hard to get people that get the help that they need. And so this was a very clear thing, and seeing the time period of when it was happening, in the 60s and everything, and how it was just a very different perspective.
I liked it. I liked the flashback. I don't know. I felt even more bad for Healy, and I could really just... he's just somebody who was bullied from day one, it seems. He doesn't have a stable parenthood, so it just shows today. And I liked it more especially because they brought it back full circle in the end, which we'll talk about with Lolly. So sometimes a bad experience is actually beneficial for somebody else, and at the end of the day, she kind of got saved, her and Alex.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I liked it.
It's interesting to me that you bring up that he was
Yeah.
bullied in his past, because he really just bullies other people into doing what he wants in the long run. Like, he bullies Judy into doing this food for thought
Pressure
or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
to him, it's not bullying.
But to him, it's not. Exactly.
But
It feels
to
like he's
them,
doing the right thing.
yeah.
It's sort of like
He
so-so in that weird way of feeling accepted and everything, and like, I'm going to help people, and now they're going to sort
he
of,
has
they're gonna
this
like me,
desperation to either feel needed or to
Yes,
feel like he's
exactly.
actually making a difference.
Yeah.
When really he doesn't really care about how it affects someone else. He just cares that he's like, oh, I'm making a difference.
right.
I'm
That's a
helping
good point.
people.
Yeah.
And
And he doesn't know how to
Yeah.
have these healthy relationships because of how his childhood was.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have that, and we can see that maybe his dad was not equipped to be able to handle this when his mom left, and so you see he doesn't have that, so he's not equipped now himself
Yeah.
as an adult on how to have a healthy relationship
Yeah.
because of what he went through in his childhood.
That's why I think it is kind of important that we saw it, because he's one of the originals that we haven't seen anything from,
Yeah.
really, as far as
Right.
a lot of background goes, other than with his crazy wife. But I think I feel so bad for Healy, because a lot of the stuff that he does initially, he has really great intentions with it, and it just
Right.
seems like no one ever
No.
is accepting of
Yeah.
it because of things that he's maybe said in the past. And so it's
or
like
that he's creepy.
yeah,
I
or
just think
creepy.
he needs a friend. He really
Yeah.
has no
Exactly.
good, solid friend to
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah.
So one friend, he'd be content. He wouldn't be pressuring everyone
Right.
else. Because he's like searching. He's searching. He kind of reminds me of me in a weird way. Actually, to be honest. Like growing up, I was actually like searching for a friend. I wasn't like, desperate, but I could feel his like wanting of
Right.
another
Right.
Companionship.
And
companionship.
something
Like,
like that.
we all want companionship.
Yeah.
His is a little
Right.
bit too
We're-
extreme.
We're
but
social animals. We want to be connected with
Yeah.
other people, for
Right.
sure.
I wouldn't like compare how I feel about Soso's backstory to Healy's,
Right.
because I do find Healy's character so dynamic, because
Yeah.
it's like it really is that pool of, oh, he's good, but he's not good, but he's
Yeah.
not bad, and
Right.
he's not. He
And
has
these-
good
these-
intentions, but he's
right.
also kind of
Right.
messed up.
And these are the
Right.
Like, you
reasons
know what I
why
mean?
he does what he does, and
But the stuff he's done with Red before, I just think, I'm like, oh, that could be a good friendship, and then something always just happens
Yeah.
to kill it.
It's
they
that
could still be
tug.
friends.
yeah.
I don't know why. Red actually really was falling for him in a
Right.
small way, wasn't
Yeah.
she?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
and but
seemed
then
like
when
it.
she started being like, we can't do this,
Yeah,
he
he
turned
just-
on her, and now
Yeah.
he's putting that kind of energy into his
Into-
relationship with Judy.
Yeah, he is. So then that way it's a little betrayal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely very weird.
Yeah, you're right.
it is. It is.
It's curious. So I don't mind his storyline.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
No, I don't either, and I know it's something we've wanted to dig a little deeper with him on his motivations, because we've always thought in seasons past, like, what's the deal with him? Like, it's just weird. But speaking of Judy King, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the last episode. I think she's a complete fake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think the reason why she didn't want to do the cooking class is because she's a complete fake, and she doesn't want anyone to find out.
She doesn't have the producer. She doesn't have
Right, she doesn't have someone prepping
the
everything,
stuff, the prepping everything.
and her
exactly.
whole team to make her recipes, and it just all came across to me from the moment when she said, "Oh no," I knew from the moment she was sitting in his office that she's fake and she's going to say no, and then she did, and then of course we saw that whole scene when she had the class and she had no idea what she was doing. Really,
Red could have made something more
I mean-
exotic than cornbread. And,
Yeah.
like, with the
But-
little ingredients they had,
Yeah.
I feel like
Right.
Red's a more valuable cook.
but it
and-
was great because she had the excuse, be like, "Oh, I don't have any knives, I
Yeah.
can't do this."
She kept bringing that up.
We don't have any ingredients here, so I can't do that.
And I hope that
But
we
what
get
a
more
full-
resources so that we can break it up
Yes.
and you guys do
And
it.
You
So
guys
I
do
don't
it.
have to
So
teach
I
it.
don't. I can. Yeah. So
That's
because
such a good
cooking is a
point.
team, and it was this whole excuse thing, and then talking about all the fancy food and be like, "Oh, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I do comfort food." But then she did comfort food with some Filipino style
Oh, yeah.
cornbread. It was just weird.
Yeah.
So I think she's a complete fake, and I think we're gonna start figuring out more of her fakery.
Yeah, I did love that. She was like, all you need is just to locate some
Yeah.
shit ton of butter.
Yeah,
I was like, that's my
Which again is
girl.
that which is yeah, me too.
I
I'm from
love
the
it.
South, and I'm like throw in the extra butter, but it made me think of that whole Paula Deen thing too, where it's like use a pound of butter for everything.
Yeah, you
but-
could just teach a whole cooking class with a
Yeah.
pound of butter.
Y'all are gonna laugh because that thought literally did not even go through my head whatsoever. But now that y'all are saying it, it makes a lot of sense. But I just thought she just wanted to lay low and didn't want to like get involved in anything while she was in prison. But
Hey, what do you
all
guys
of
think
your-
out there?
all
I'd
of
be
your
curious.
points make a lot
I
more
could be
sense.
completely off,
That's
but
true.
I've just that was the first thing that came
No,
to
I
mind.
completely-
is that she
I
was
completely
a
agree with you.
complete fake, and this is kind of showing that she's a complete fake.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe people out there also agree, and I've seen more of the episodes that won't give anything away, but they'll
Yeah.
tell us, like, no, she does know how to cook or whatever, but I just didn't, I've never thought that from
I
the moment she
doubt
came in,
she
but
does,
this
yeah.
episode in particular, it was like, nope, completely fake.
Yeah, you're good
She
at
a fake.
convincing.
Because if you knew what you were,
Yeah.
if you knew what you were doing, you'd be able to do it with your eyes closed. If you were this person, you'd just be able to be like, well, I can do it. We'll make all this we can make everything out of butter and a can of beans, and we can make the
Right.
most amazing recipe.
Right.
So to
Yeah.
me,
Totally.
fake. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Good point.
What else was going on? I mean, there's so much. I love how Tasty's really taking her job
Yeah.
seriously. She's got the jacket on by this episode.
She asked the library
the phone
exactly what I would have asked about
It made
Beyonce's
me think of
divorce.
you immediately.
She was like, we're just curious about the suspicious article about
Oh my
Beyonce's
God.
divorce.
So
It's exactly what I would have
hilarious.
asked. So good.
It was so great. I mean,
Yeah, it was.
her trying to figure out the phone, and how many of us, I mean, anyone out there that has actually worked
Oh
in an
yeah,
office,
Yeah.
I used to,
and
and that
how
phone is not.
intimidating it was to be able
Rolling
to transfer
calls.
a call and be able to do the lines,
and
it just
hanging
made
up
me-
on people is
Yes.
the absolute worst.
Yes,
Yes.
and it made me
not
laugh
putting yourself on
so
mute.
hard.
And I loved
Yes.
when she went back to her bunk and like she was so sore and
Yeah.
like talking about like making all these files and stuff. Like I'm pretty sure I've gone home and done that same thing in the
Oh,
past.
yeah.
But then also at the end when she was like, "Ugh, I need a yoga ball,
Yeah.
like or whatever. That's
It's actually-
that's a real struggle.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how much
Struggle is real.
access she has to
Yeah.
everyone, the guards and their middle names
Yeah,
and
like
the
she was saying
files.
she had all their files. And
That
knowing,
could be
like,
something to be uncovered maybe in the future episodes what she finds.
With
so.
great
Yeah.
responsibility comes
Yes.
great power,
Power.
or the other way
Other way
around. We don't
around.
know.
Think about it.
But I do think like what you're
If
saying.
you do think about it, it does make
Right, I
sense.
thought about that, sure.
It does, but I think what you're saying is exactly right. Like she's gonna undercover. She's
Uncover.
gonna uncover.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank
Something.
you. Because of all the stuff with MCC and the privatization and all that, she's gonna find out something. So this is gonna be a very key point for her to be able to figure out what's happening in the inside the prison. So I love watching that. I know we're running behind.
Daya's
so we gotta wrap
mom,
through.
Aleda. I love how she was.
Oh, yeah.
Aleda was so worried about what she'll
Yeah.
do after prison. She had to
Yeah.
get like a reality check. That was
I
a
just
great
wanted to say
scene.
to it. Gloria's
Great
speech was
scene.
amazing.
Gloria's speech
Amazing.
was so
I
good.
got me
Pep
pumped
talk.
up.
I did
I was
too.
like, "You're
Thank
right,
you.
Gloria. Why am I complaining?" You know?
But
I felt the same way.
this is a real thing though, and that's sort of what has happened, and you read about this all the time. Is the recidivism rates are so high because people are not equipped to leave
Yeah.
prison. I've used that word a lot today. That's the word of the day, guys. Is equipped. They're not prepared to leave prison and be able to get jobs because
Right.
nobody wants to hire them. They don't
Right.
have the skill set now to come out. Nobody's really teaching them in prison, and so sometimes they're like, I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't know how I'm going to get a job to get an apartment. I don't know how I'm going to get my kids back because now I'm a felon. And sometimes they're like, it's just easier to be back in the prison because
Yeah.
they know they're going to get
Yeah.
3 meals a day. They know they're going to
Exactly.
have
They know they're-
structure. And they're having shelter, and that's a real issue. And to see that play out with the character there was brilliant because that is a real thing.
I kind
And-
of hope they follow her outside
Yeah.
of the prison. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
they
I
have
think
to.
they
tie
will.
that in
They
with
will.
that.
Because
And
of the
see-
daughter- the-
right. There's a
Diane.
connection there, and see what happens. And I'm hoping that this will get her out, and we'll find out what happened to Bennett because
Yeah.
I still want to know.
That
We
was
have
going to be
not
something I
seen.
asked.
That's a
And
good
that's-
connect. That's a good link.
That's what I'm hoping
Yeah.
is that she will be
That
able to
will
go out there
totally
and
happen,
find
actually.
Bennett. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. But that was a great scene. Gloria was just amazing. I think it's such an important thing.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to talk about Lolly.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have
Oh
to.
no, we have to
and
before we go.
Piper.
Yeah, I mean Piper obviously, and
Well, wait,
Yeah.
I guess we.
yeah, we should talk about a little bit of Piper
And Dog and Coats. Oh,
I don't
God.
know. There's so much.
I think the stuff with Piper, it's
Okay.
almost, it's like a easy thing to breathe through
Right,
because
it
it's
is.
just like
Yeah.
annoying. 'Cause she's
Competition.
losing her
That's
business.
what we talked about last for
whatever.
episode 3.
It's just what's happening to her. I don't think it's going to end up. I don't think she's going to lose it completely because they don't have the access to all the stuff that she has
Right.
access to.
But someone might find out.
True.
Right, because she brings up the whole point. The
And
more
that
people that
fight.
are out there, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, we have to talk about Lolly because that is
Yes.
a brilliant thread that runs throughout this whole episode. And Red's trying to convince Frida not to kill her, and like this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well,
and-
Alex tells Red, brings
Yes.
Red into
Yeah,
it.
I'm glad
Alex-
Red was
yes,
brought into it.
Yes, I was too because Alex knew that she had to
She
be
would-
running because she's close with Frida.
Frida.
She's the
Yeah.
Frida whisperer.
Yeah. So
And-
whisper.
Yeah, and that was horrible. Red did not want to be involved because that is a terrible secret to be involved.
She's like,
in.
Yeah.
That's
don't tell
awful.
me she's into the tomatoes.
No,
I love
that's
that.
awful.
That's
and
like
it's
all
true.
she cared
I mean,
about.
you wouldn't want to be involved with that secret. So anyway,
Yeah.
she finds that out.
But
She's
first she
now-
said she loves secrets.
Yes, yes.
Well,
And
doesn't
then-
everybody?
yeah.
I mean, hello, it's like the same thing. Everyone says we don't want to gossip, but if they hear gossip, they want to hear it.
But then when she heard it, she didn't want to
Yeah,
be part
she
of
didn't
it.
wanna be involved.
It is a horrible thing to have to talk
Yeah.
about. So she's trying to convince Frida, no, this is okay. And then she really sees how just out there Lolly is and how she's going to reveal everything, and we don't know what the drone thing is. I started thinking in this episode, was the drone really real? But then I'm like, we did see it in the other episode.
Yeah.
And
but
everyone else
didn't-
sees it.
Yeah, but we didn't really see it in... Yes, but then we didn't see it in this one, so I'm like, is she now seeing it more than it really is there? Like, what is going on? Like, the whole drone thing is... And it's just funny to me because I'm actually working on the show, and it's all about drones, there's drones out there, so... But what's going on with that? But the brilliant thing, what do you guys think really quick?
Well, I love the moment between her and Healy because it was like, it's a win for him, but then it also, you can just see the wheels turning in her head. Like, well, crap, did I? Because I was I've been wondering the whole time, like, how she's going to get out of this or how they're going to get around it. And she genuinely now believes that, like, she was making it up. She's like, I didn't kill him.
That's like the worst. For someone who's crazy, that's the perfect thing to tell somebody when they're crazy.
Exactly. So Healy did just save Lolly's life.
And Alex's
because
life.
Frida was going to kill her and Alex's life. But he also just made a big ass mistake. Because someone is really dead under the carpet.
Exactly. But that was
He's like, I would know if someone died.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, that just gives you less credibility as
okay,
a
sure, Healy. You don't know what's going on.
Seriously. But it almost made me crazy because, like, oh my God, like, oh yeah, like, because the way that he knew that she was basically, he thought she was just crazy, and the way she was talking about everything, she did.
Her story did sound crazy. Her story did sound crazy.
So that was brilliant the way they did that, and they brought him back in to be able to give her the counseling she needed, and then all of a sudden she believes that Aiden's a hologram, and that was just brilliant.
Yeah.
But we see what happens when he just gives medication as a solution for everything, and that didn't involve last time.
Right, like last season, that was horrible.
Yeah. But this scene at the end when she just gives him a big thumbs up, she's like, you just cured my whole life.
Exactly. And then
that would have been my favorite. But Alex
actually looked relieved.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well, I would be. I'd be like, oh, you think you're crazy.
Right.
Okay.
Great.
Finally.
That's what we've been trying to tell you this whole time.
And you think it's all fake, and it's, that's what we needed. So he did kind of save her life, but we're going to find out what happens. I'm so fascinated about
Should we talk about Coates
episode
or
5
no?
and 6.
That's the topic.
Super quick, I know, because we've got to wrap it up because we are behind.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of when I was impressed with Doggett Penstucky that she actually said she stood up for herself, and she didn't kind of like
attack him.
Yeah, she didn't get attacked. She didn't attack him, but she also didn't get like confused by what he was saying. She's like, oh, it wasn't rape.
Right.
Like she stood up for herself in the fact that she was. Because she's been raped before, and she said this felt the same as when she's been raped before.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just a really powerful scene because we've seen how much she's matured and how she's finally realizing that these things that are happening to her are wrong. Yeah. And I love that.
You said that so well. You're so right.
I just wanted to talk about that because I love
and from his perspective, how all of a sudden he was like, "Oh, rape, but I loved you," and all this.
Yeah.
Like, so it's okay.
His reaction was so weird to me though. Like I was like, you know what you were doing, but he seemed like he genuinely was like, but I said I love you, so that makes it okay.
Yep.
And like you can tell he actually really thinks that way.
Yeah.
Which is just.
And we talked about that last week, how we were like, this dude like actually doesn't think it's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
He doesn't see why she's giving her.
And we
the
saw that
shoulder.
in this episode, so I'm fascinated to see where we're gonna go with
that
5 and 6 and
how he reacts to that. I'm very curious to see.
And until next time, where can we find you guys? We had so much to talk about. We barely get it in.
Y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sterling Cates.
And you can follow me everywhere at Kanika Lal.
And you can follow me on Twitter at sman80. That's sman80. And just for next week, we will be taping on Tuesday because of the 4th of July holiday. Episodes 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So great. Cannot wait to see the rest of the season. Have a great one. We'll see you next Tuesday, same time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.